Everybody want me to be calm. Do you know how them bullets hit my son? What they did to his body as they hit his body?
Why did he stop Michael Brown?
Because they were walking down the middle of the street blocking traffic. That was it.
The pain and rage of one grieving family echoed and erupted. We had never seen anything like it.
You must leave the area. What kind of weapon is that?
But we had seen the roots of that anger.
We should be able to drive without being harassed.
Mostly white cops busting mostly black and poor residents.
They treated me like a wild animal.
Community courts turned into debtor prisons.
I'm in jail because of some traffic tickets I had.
And the politicians who pushed all of it.
Mayor, you just want to ask
I told you nothing on camera.
It's not funny. What? All lives matter.
Ferguson exploded over the death of Mike Brown.
Who are you? Mike Brown.
But Ferguson's deep-rooted problems were only a small part of a widespread system of injustice that has poisoned our community for so long, many of us had learned to accept it. The deadly police shooting of Mike Brown and the reaction to it rocked our community and the nation. But this is not the story of what happened in Ferguson, though Ferguson is part of it. Ferguson did help expose why so many people are angry with law enforcement, and that's what we will examine tonight. This is a commercial-free, hour-long investigation of an injustice system carried out by cops, courts, and greedy politicians. Melvin Lands, a disabled ex-cop, was tasered and jailed over what he calls a misunderstanding with white police officers from Ferguson.
They went out of their ways to torture me and make my life as miserable as they could.
The incident ended with allegations of police brutality, mistreatment in jail, and a pile of tickets that cost Lands a bundle of cash, a case that was eventually amended to littering.
It totaled up to over $1,400.
$1,400?
Yes.
For littering?
For littering.
In a scathing report, the Department of Justice found a practice of abusive police behavior in Ferguson. It was fueled partly by greedy public officials who encouraged police to be more aggressive and issue more tickets that brought millions of dollars of revenue into the city. But News 4 Investigates found Ferguson was only a small part of a sweeping system of injustice being carried out throughout much of the St. Louis area. Our investigation also brought us to the North County city of Bellefontaine neighbors.
We just want to ask you. I told you nothing on camera.
Mayor, we want to ask you some questions.
I told you nothing on camera.
But Mayor Robert Dorr refused to talk on camera about a police policy that critics say is indefensible and has hurt the relationship between cops and the community.
This is a Ferguson waiting to happen.
Well, I think it's unfair to the community.
As a Bellefontaine Neighbors officer for a decade, retired Corporal Joe St. Clair was ordered to carry out what he called a detailed quota system for tickets and arrests. If officers failed to meet their monthly mandated number, they could be fired.
I believe the chief put an illegal mandate on the officers, yes.
St. Clair gave us copies of a spreadsheet used by the Bellefontaine Neighbors Police Department. It identifies 7 different activities that officers are required to do. Those include writing ordinance violations, traffic arrests, uniform traffic tickets, parking violations, and traffic warnings. St. Clair had to do 50 of them every month. Did you and other officers feel like your pay was at risk if you didn't write enough tickets?
Well, of course. Progressive discipline eventually to suspension, demotion, and even termination.
If you didn't write enough tickets?
If you didn't write enough tickets.
And you believed that that could happen?
Yes.
St. Clair believed it because he received this letter from the police department threatening disciplinary action because he failed to meet the 50 minimum in September 2013. After getting that letter, St. Clair started writing more tickets and always met his quota.
I was not comfortable doing it. I had to do it. I have a wife and 2 children. I had to support.
In 2013, the year Joe St. Clair was reprimanded for not meeting his quota, Bellefontaine Neighbors Police wrote a record number of traffic tickets. In all, 5,332 citations, a rate of more than 1 for every 2 residents, and a stunning 114% increase in just 1 year.
How did you get the Social Security number? That's the part that people want to understand.
Tax fraud. It's a rising crime costing us billions of dollars every year.
Are you concerned that taxpayers are losing faith in the IRS?
As the battle over the IRS heats up in D.C.,
Do they need more money?
The IRS, frankly, could use another trim or two.
News 4 is taking a stand against tax cheats, watching out for your hard-earned money.
We've done everything right, and it still happened. It could happen to anyone.
They say there are 2 certainties in life, death and taxes. You can now add a third. At some point, someone is going to steal your identity. Criminals are now expected to steal more than $20 billion in bogus tax refunds from hardworking Americans in 2016. So, News 4 is taking a stand against tax cheats. Over the next 30 minutes, the News 4 Investigates team will press lawmakers for answers and dig into solutions to a growing epidemic. Because this year, St. Louis was an area hit harder than most by identity theft and tax fraud.
It's an absolute nightmare, and it's frustrating. I'm angry.
That was Scott Minner of St. Anne in March. This is Scott Minner now.
I've been patient with them. I understand they have a lot to do. But this is March. Now this is November. Now you're back here again.
Nearly 9 months after filing, he still doesn't have his refund. Like many Americans, Scott and his wife were the victims of ruthless identity thieves that filed their returns on their behalf. Straightening out the mess, at the time, nearly impossible. Has it been easy to get a hold of people at the IRS?
Not at all. It's almost impossible. You call, and if you want to speak to a live person, you'll be on hold anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. They'll put me on hold, and then it'll hang up on you. And then you got to start the process over.
In July, a glimmer of hope arrived in his mailbox stating a refund check would be processed within 4 to 6 weeks. That deadline came and went. The refund never arrived. Making matters worse, Scott was laid off a couple months ago. He could really use his $1,500 back.
We could have always used it, but right now we could really use it. We're juggling, we're trying to stay afloat right now.
Scott is far from alone.
Somebody has used my Social Security number for the last 2 years.
I got a paper in the mail with my name and some other lady's name on it. I was wondering, what the heck was happening?
But why was the St. Louis area hit so hard? Many victims suspect the Anthem healthcare breach put their personal information in jeopardy.
The FBI is investigating a massive breach at Anthem Inc.
Cyber thieves strike America's second largest health insurer.
The Anthem healthcare breach made headlines. Then the calls and emails started filtering into our newsroom, and there were a lot of them.
With them being breached, I have a better than not feeling that, it was probably connected.
Can you think of anything else it could be besides that?
No.
Scott Minner is one of the many that has Anthem Healthcare. The same thing happened to this teacher in Jefferson County. Do you have any doubt in your mind that your refund was stolen because of the Anthem hack?
Absolutely not. It is absolutely from the Anthem hack.
I checked with several Jefferson County school districts that also use Anthem Healthcare. In the Windsor School District, the superintendent told us up to 6 teachers had their identities stolen, but at the time, it was too early to determine the source. Here at News 4, there's been too many emails from identity theft victims to interview all of them, but many claim to have Anthem and are worried about a possible connection. I asked the head of the IRS about their concerns.
At this point, again, can't tell you a lot of details about it there, but it's probably too early to know.
We have a lot of viewers that are saying they have Anthem Healthcare and they went to file their taxes and they were already filed. That seems to be the common link.
There are, I'm sure, some of that, whether it is as a result of the Anthem breach or whether their identity and their Social Security number were stolen elsewhere, I don't know.
Whether it's through Anthem or other major data breaches, stolen personal information appears to be impacting St. Louis area residents harder than other parts of the country. In fact, the Federal Trade Commission ranks St. Louis as 3rd in the country for identity theft. Where did we rank last year?
Last year it was down at 100.
So that's a huge jump, obviously. What's driving that?
Tax identity theft is driving the train in Missouri and throughout the country.
Live from Kmov, this is News 4 at 10.
In just the last few minutes, we're seeing road crews diverting traffic out of the northbound lanes on Interstate 55 as water continues to become dangerously high there.
Yeah, that's right. And Highway Patrol has just confirmed those northbound lanes are closed to traffic on 55. Sky Zoom 4 flying over the area where it appears traffic is being diverted at 141 in Arnold. This is all despite efforts by MoDOT to sandbag the area and hold that water back. Good evening. I'm Courtney Bryant.
And I'm Steve Savard. So far, lanes are still open on the southbound side there. This as we're still waiting for the Merrimack River to crest in Valley Park. We'll have a live report out of that area as part of our News 4 team coverage tonight.
News 4 crews are tackling this flooding from the ground where our Corey Stark was trapped in tonight's traffic, as well as from up above. That's where we will start our team coverage now with forewarned Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton joining us from Sky Zoom over I-55 and Merrimack Bottom Road. Steve.
Yeah, we've got a brand new update for you too. This has just happened in the past several minutes here. It looks like Highway Patrol is shutting down southbound Interstate 55. Traffic southbound on Interstate 55 right near Merrimack Bottom Road. As you approach the Merrimack River, the bridge.
Drivers were stuck for hours this afternoon as well, trying to make their way to Jefferson County as traffic on 55 was at a standstill. Our Corey Stark was among those stuck in that traffic. He joins us from 255 and 55.
Yeah, Steve, frustration and helplessness is what so many drivers are feeling tonight. And as what Steve Templeton just told us, with the southbound lanes now being closed, those feelings will be exacerbated tonight with so many of these drivers. And here's a live look from the ground of what 55 southbound looks like. And you can see just bumper to bumper, a lot of congestion. And we want to take you back to Sky Zoom 4 just to look from that view just how vast this traffic is. And it's not just Interstate 55 that has been a problem. You had mentioned just a personal experience that I had. It's on Lemay Ferry Road. There was just so much congestion on Lemay Ferry Road. We were heading southbound toward Arnold on Lemay Ferry Road when they had cut that off at Merrimack Bottoms Road. And then we were diverted back to northbound.
You know, Courtney, this is still a pretty unbelievable sight to see here at 141 and 44. This historic flooding, just to give you perspective, I mean, you can see the stoplights that are almost submerged, and they're still expected to get about another half a foot of water here as the rivers crest between midnight and 6 a.m. tomorrow.
The sign on the door advertises the Section 8 lottery. For the first time since 2010, the St. Louis County Housing Authority is taking new applications. Susan Rollins is the St. Louis County Housing Authority's executive director. She says all applications will be entered into a computer system which will randomly select 6,000 names. Those will be the winners. So it's literally someone's lucky or unlucky day. In the city of St. Louis, the Housing Authority handles applications differently. Applicants are ranked by preference, gaining points if an individual is homeless or displaced by natural disaster. Last July, 27,000 people applied. So far, only 4 filled out their preferences correctly, leading to a time-consuming process for Housing Authority employees. The county doesn't rank applicants based on level of need. Instead, all applicants are considered randomly.
It couldn't be happening. It can't be happening to me.
This man is one of the latest victims of gun violence in St. Louis. He was hit earlier this month while simply standing on a downtown street.
I had to have CAT scans, I had to have x-rays.
He spent 2 days in the hospital, and his treatment will be very expensive. The bullet is still buried in his back, and he'll need surgery. When you get shot in St. Louis, you go to the emergency room at Barnes Jewish Hospital or St. Louis University Hospital. These are the only 2 level 1 trauma centers in the city. Doctors and nurses here see a lot of gunshot victims.
Unfortunately, some of those comparisons have been, geez, it's just like being at war.
Dr. Laurie Byrne is the chief of emergency medicine at St. Louis University. Dr. Douglas Schurer is medical director of trauma at Barnes Jewish.
The people that work here
really have to be ready for it every day.
So what is the cost of gun violence in our community? For several months, News 4 has worked with Barnes Jewish and St. Louis University to get the numbers that can help answer that question. In 2014, the two hospitals combined saw a total of 1,115 shooting victims. Almost half had serious injuries that required extensive and costly treatment.
Honestly, some people that are injured could be here for could need lifelong care, head injury or otherwise.
An operation intensive care unit, rehab, it could be from a week to over a month. And so it can be to the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Using averages provided by the hospitals, we arrived at a conservative cost estimate of almost $36 million treating gunshot victims in St. Louis City for just 1 year. The real cost, of course, is almost certainly much higher.
The Corvette is one of the world's premier sports cars, and they're not cheap. A 2015 base model will cost you around $55,000. But this story isn't about cars. It's about something that comes in a little vial like this. Something so precious, a News 4 viewer was recently charged more than the price of that Corvette for just 6 vials. So, what is it? No, it's not plutonium, and it's no laughing matter for John Wertel. In May, John had a painful encounter with this 20-inch copperhead snake. John went to Mercy Hospital in Creve Coeur, where doctors immediately treated him with the anti-venom drug Kmov. The meds did the trick, and John went home healthy. But when his hospital bill arrived, John was sick all over again. He was charged $56,548.80 for 6 vials of Kmov.
Somebody made a mistake.
Like John, we were surprised by the $56,000 charge. We contacted Mercy to ask how such a small amount of medication can cost so much. A spokesperson told us the high price was due to its short shelf life and shortages of the drug. But we did some digging. Our investigation led us here to Fleet Place in London, England, home of BTG, the manufacturer of Kmov. A BTG spokesperson tells us there is definitely no shortage of Kmov, so we are surprised a hospital has told you this. As for a short shelf life, BTG says the shelf life of Kmov is 36 months. And its cost? BTG let us know 6 vials would have been sold for under $14,000. So 6 vials sold for under $14,000, but billed at more than $56,000. Armed with that information from BTG, we again asked Mercy about the price difference. This time, we got a very different answer. Mercy says the real reason is the shortcomings of the U.S. healthcare system. To help us understand that answer, we went to see Dave Dillon of the Missouri Hospital Association in Jefferson City. In a candid interview, Dillon revealed an industry secret. Hospitals don't have set prices or fees. The problem is this. American hospitals are required to treat most patients who come through their doors, whether they can pay or not. In 2013 alone, Missouri hospitals lost more than $1 billion in so-called charity care. To make up for those losses, paying patients are sometimes charged adjusted or inflated prices. What's wrong with this system, and what does it take to fix it? John Wertel doesn't have insurance, which may explain why he's being charged an inflated price. If he had insurance, the hospital would likely charge the insurer's negotiated rate. John complained, and Mercy did discount his bill, but he says the discount isn't much help.
I did not realize that the new owners were from California.
Vanessa Ashford Anderson isn't happy hearing that an out-of-state landlord has grabbed up the home next to hers.
When something goes wrong, who's there? You're waiting days, weeks on end to get something rectified. And that's not right.
Many of her neighbors may be wondering the same thing. A simple search of the St. Louis County website shows the owners, Raineth Homes. But there's much more to this story. Take a look at these remarkable numbers. Within just a few years, Raineth has purchased more than 800 homes in North St. Louis County, and they really like certain towns, like Jennings, where Raineth owns at least 104 homes. Then there's Ferguson, 67 homes, maybe more. Berkeley, 51 homes, more than a dozen in Northwoods, Riverview, and Pine Lawn. Raineth owns 99 homes in unincorporated St. Louis County. Remember, these are all single-family homes, all in North County, and now they're rental properties. Many residents we spoke with have no clue what Raineth's doing.
I don't know. It's my first time hearing about it.
We hit up one Raineth hotspot, Thurston Avenue in Berkeley.
On this block, there are half a dozen homes owned by Raineth. This one's owned by Raineth, so is this one, and the one right next door.
I hope my house is not for sale.
On this street alone, they own this one, this house, and this one too, and this one, and last but not least, this one. Raineth is run by Edward Renwick, his wife Hua Chen, and her brother Jay of Los Angeles. They say St. Louis is a community they care deeply about. An online search reveals a Georgia corporation is competing with Raineth and also participates in Section 8. BLT REJV3 now owns 628 homes, most of them in North County. So you don't even know who's behind this?
I have no idea.
On Payne Avenue, homeowners like Javon have nothing personal against out-of-state landlords, but it doesn't mean they aren't concerned about the future of their neighborhood with so many rentals filling up the block. The family behind Raineth actually owns more than 800 single-family homes in North County, but not all of them are under the Raineth name. In an emailed statement, Edward Renwick told us his company serves single African-American moms, exactly the group of Americans he says needs these homes the most, and he readily admits that he actively seeks out Section 8 voucher holders and points out that the County Housing Authority has never rejected one of his company's houses. Bottom line, Renwick insists he is not an absentee landlord and that his mission is to preserve North County. Of course, this is a story we will continue to follow. Chris Nagus, News 4.
The city of East St. Louis says it's so broke it recently had to lay off police officers. But through my investigation, I got a hold of an audit performed by a St. Louis firm revealing some big concerns that the city has not been collecting a big revenue source, taxes from its liquor stores and restaurants. That just one area of questions when it comes to cash management here. Do you think it was a lack of accountability?
Of course.
When Treasurer Charlotte Moore took office in East St. Louis earlier this year, she was alarmed by what she found.
Was there any discernible system of organization here?
None.
Bankers' boxes stacked to the ceiling, important papers piled on almost every corner and on nearly every table. No clear record keeping, even huge checks left to languish uncashed.
People were just writing bad checks to the city because they knew nobody was going to collect them. People were even writing checks on closed accounts. Now that's alarming.
And there was no one checking up on that?
No one. No one trying to attempt to collect them.
Moore says there's no way to say just how much money was mismanaged.
We're not talking tens of thousands, we're not talking thousands, we're talking potentially millions here.
Right. Well, you know, you had $1 million too that was still hadn't come into the city from paying off the bond.
Moore's referring to a shocking discovery she made shortly after taking office. $1.2 million owed to the city just sitting in a bank. No one had collected it in years. This audit I obtained was released just a few weeks ago. It outlines a number of serious money management concerns from 2014, some of them directed at Moore's predecessor, who lost his position in the election back in the spring. But one item really caught my eye. The collection of a 1% tax on food and beverage and packaged liquor should be a significant source of revenue in any town, especially in a place where liquor is a large part of the economy. But in East St. Louis, auditors said that in 2014, there was not a formalized collection process to pursue taxes due. The dollar amount owed difficult to determine because of lack of proper documentation. The audit, though, suggested that 71% of the businesses identified as owing taxes didn't pay them every time they were due.
There could have been more money in the city's coffers, though, if things had been handled properly.
Yes, correct.
So I took the audit straight to Alvin Parks. In 2014, he was mayor. After he lost the election for mayor, the city council appointed him city manager instead.
Do you take some responsibility for this?
Well, of course we do.
Parks disputes some of the audit's findings, even saying some of the businesses auditors counted as behind on taxes weren't even open. He's checking now to see if some of the money was collected but just mischaracterized into another fund. Still, he says they're making changes to ensure they collect what's owed.
Are you confident that the businesses are paying what they should to the city?
Well, let's say this. We're not completely comfortable going back that everyone has paid what they should have paid to the city, but we've put new processes in place over the last year to year and a half to make sure that things are being properly collected.
But Moore says this was just one of several areas of improvement for money management in the cash-strapped city.
This is scary for a lot of people.
It is.
About that $1.2 million, well, yep, the city finally collected it. But there is a lot more to this audit. Get this, it says that in all of 2014, only 8 parking tickets were paid. You can bet I'll keep digging into that. I'm Lauren Traeger, News 4.
Now, that case highlights what proved to be a dangerous holiday weekend in St. Louis as police responded to more than a half-dozen shootings.
And this escalating violence is part of why News 4 is joining with the community for our End Violence initiative. We are working with city leaders like St. Louis Circuit Attorney Jennifer Joyce. Joyce's office has started a site called stlouisguncrime.com. It gives you options on how you can help end the violence.
The number one reason we're not able to hold people accountable for gun violence is because the community doesn't want to get involved. And so I want to make sure that everybody knows that without their help, we can't take these people off the street.
We've got a link to more programs and initiatives aimed at ending violence and offering help at kmov.com/endviolencestl. And we are also encouraging you to provide us feedback and offer your story ideas.
I'm Claire Kellett, live in downtown St. Louis, where KMOV, Cardinals Care, and the American Red Cross are in the midst of a huge holiday gift drive. We'll let you know how you can help us spread some holiday cheer coming up. In the meantime, Kelly and Megan are holding down the fort back in the studio.
This is the time of year when more people are in the giving spirit, and for some families, it's also a time when they rely on the kindness of others. We want to make sure someone that we care about has a reason to smile, and today you have a chance to give to those less fortunate. KMOV is teaming up with Cardinals Care and the American Red Cross for a holiday gift drive. Our Claire Kellett joins us now from Ballpark Village. Claire, how's it going?
It is going incredible, Kelly. We know in the hustle and bustle of the holidays, people really like to take a step back and do something for others. And boy, have we seen that this morning. Since 6 a.m., we've been out here, parked right along Clark Street, you know, Ballpark Village here and Busch Stadium over there. Of course, our volunteers are scattering. What's been happening is people driving up in their cars, and inside their cars, they have new unwrapped toys for kids up to 12 years old and gift cards for teenagers. Our volunteers literally walk out to the cars, grab the gifts, and give them them some hot chocolate and a Cardinals stocking, and then they take them inside here to Ballpark Village, where they are wrapping all of the presents. All of these presents will be scattered throughout our area for the holiday season. So coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to let you know where the presents are going, and we're also going to take you inside. Trust me, this pile of presents is just ginormous, and I would love for all of you to see it. So again, we'll be back out here live in downtown St. Louis in just a bit. In the meantime, Kelly, we'll send it back to you.
And Claire, couldn't be easier. You don't even have to get out of your car. Sounds like a great event.
And you get gifts for giving gifts too. It's a bonus.
Perfect. Everyone wins. Thanks, Claire.
New at 10, with more than 100 homicides in St. Louis this year, News 4 goes one-on-one with Mayor Francis Slay. What action will you see, and is he still backing the police chief?
Where is your confidence level right now with the job that Chief Dotson is doing?
I'm tracking the chance for a few more storms tonight, then a big break in that oppressive humidity.
A shocking crime at a local shopping mall.
What defense did he get?
He didn't really have one.
You won't believe what officers say a man did to an unsuspecting shopper.
A St. Louis woman says her neighborhood is being treated like a landfill. Now Chris Nagus is stepping up on News 4 at 10 right now.
Live from KMOV, this is News 4 at 10.
Is there anything tangible that people can expect from your office over the next month to deal with this violence?
Yes.
Tonight, News 4 is looking for answers from St. Louis Mayor Francis Slay about what he's doing to address the drastic spike of violent crime in the city.
Right now, the city is on pace for 180 homicides. This would be the most in more than 3 decades.
That's why Corey Stark went one-on-one with Mayor Slay to find out what actions he's taking to curb the violence in St. Louis.
Well, Steve, Mayor Slay says he's troubled by the increase in violent crime. So today I went to him to get specifics about what we can expect in the city of St. Louis from his office over the next few months to address the problem.
We've done, obviously, is not enough.
Where is your confidence level right now with the job that Chief Dotson is doing?
I've got a very high level of confidence in Chief Dotson.
Mayor Slay and Chief Dotson are both pushing to add 160 officers to the force, but that plan hasn't gotten out of committee in the Board of Aldermen.
It can get done. I mean, the Board of Aldermen can do it if they decide they want to do it. We're certainly pushing, and we're doing everything we can to get it done, but it's not going to happen this year now.
Mayor Slay says his plan to address the violence is more than just adding cops. He plans to continue summer job programs for youth, implement education programs, and partner with organizations like Better Family Life.
They want to kick it up to another level. They want $500,000 to target some pocketed areas where there's a high level of risk for even more crime and more violence in the city of St. Louis.
His office is also working on stricter gun laws for the city.
We're trying to find ways that we can make possession of guns a little more difficult in St. Louis and keep them out of the hands of criminals to the extent we can under state law.
In that new gun legislation that I just mentioned, Mayor Slay says he hopes to have that in front of the Board of Aldermen after they get back from summer recess, which is early September. Mayor Slay says he's also still working on a gun docket and raising the minimum wage, which he believes will decrease the violence in this city. We're live tonight, Corey Stark, News 4.
Meanwhile, St. Louis police are unveiling new details of a joint effort with federal law enforcement to help curtail the violence. That initiative, called Mission Save, teams city police with St. Louis County, the FBI, and the DEA to work on criminal investigations. Mission Save will target violent offenders, and it will also encourage community engagement. Steve?
Well, News 4 is following breaking news out of South St. Louis. This is a live look from the scene of a shooting investigation on South Grand. We just spoke with police who tell us someone was shot during a robbery attempt at that convenience store that you're seeing. There's no word on how severe the injuries are. Of course, we'll bring you any updates as we get them. New at 10, a man is accused of choking a St. Louis police officer and kicking a police canine. Police say Tyrell Mays was found hiding in an attic of a home in North St. Louis yesterday. He was wanted on outstanding warrants. As police tried to get him out, he allegedly headbutted one officer and then choked another. When police sent a canine into the attic, Mays reportedly kicked the dog away. He was eventually taken into custody.
We are getting new information tonight. We now know that 2 people are in custody after a police chase that ended with a crash in North St. Louis. Now, since we first brought you this story as breaking news at 5, we've learned that officers were chasing that stolen silver car you saw moments ago when it hit some spike strips It then collided with another car and it crashed into a light pole near Vandevenner and Bell. The person in the other car was not hurt.
Well, I've been watching closely the storms that we've been seeing over the last couple of hours. No warnings right now, and the severe thunderstorm watch for Iron and Reynolds County was canceled early. We are tracking these thunderstorms away from the region, but a few showers and an isolated rumble of thunder tracking toward the St. Louis metro right now. We've got a cold front that's dropping toward the I-70 corridor tonight, and it will pass through the area tomorrow. So the chance of a few more storms and showers as we head through midnight, and then we'll see a big drop in the humidity and the temperature. I'll have a look at that full forecast coming up.
New at 10, a man is accused of shooting at a driver in North St. Louis County and attacking a police officer. Officers say Daniel Jenkins opened fire on a car on Edgefield Drive in the Castle Point area. The driver was shot in the leg. Police tell News 4 that when they tracked down Jenkins, he allegedly hit an officer in the face and head. That officer has minor injuries. Tonight, a woman is recovering after a shooting outside of a Chesterfield nursing home. Officers say Robert Yancey shot his wife during an argument outside of the nursing home where she works. The woman did survive. Yancey later turned himself in to police. Jasmine?
Steve, only on 4. Fairview Heights police have arrested a man for exposing himself to a woman on the St. Clair Square parking lot. It turns out he is not the only flasher busted by police in Fairview Heights in recent days. Investigators told me today they want these men classified as sex offenders. Police say a woman was walking through the shopping mall parking lot when a man called for her to come over.
He asked for directions. That's all that he asked for.
And at that moment, Fairview Heights police say 22-year-old Matthew Freeshy exposed himself. The woman was able to take down his license plate, and Detective Brian Schreiber tells me Freeshy was located at his home in Swansea. What defense did he give?
He didn't really have one. He said that he might have been wearing too small of shorts. That was the excuse that he gave.
It comes just days after police say a different man exposed himself at the Schnucks on Leakin Highway, and after another separate flashing incident in Des Peres.
I've never seen anything like that, and you know, it's a nice park.
Detective Schreiber says his department is working to get the law changed so that misdemeanor public indecency qualifies to be registered as a sex offender. Think it would make a big difference if they were?
I think they might think twice. You never know where it's going to lead or what their true intentions are. So we want to try and just stop it at the beginning and prevent it from getting to be something really serious.
Fairview Heights police tell me the man arrested at that Schnucks is a repeat offender who has committed indecency acts at various retailers in the area.
Tonight, the search is intensifying for the man who crept into a child's room and attacked her in Melville. Police releasing surveillance photos of the man they're looking for. They say he followed the child and her family home from the Shop and Save on Lemay Ferry Road and then broke into the house. Police say he sexually assaulted her and then threatened her life. If you can help find him, call St. Louis County Police.
We have new information tonight. News 4 is learning that police have caught the alleged gunman who shot a man outside of his South St. Louis home. 20-year-old Leandre Clark is now behind bars on multiple felony charges. This is an update to a story we first told you about last week. Officers say Clark shot that man as he was getting out of his car at his home on Keokuk. The victim was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, but did survive.
Tonight, demonstrators marched in front of Belleville City Hall, upset about the possibility of taking the American flag off of police uniforms.
We first told you about this controversy last week, and tonight News 4's Matt Cesny was at City Hall as this big issue still simmering. Matt.
Yeah, that's because this still has a lot of people in Belleville upset. And tonight, the police chief had to stand inside City Hall here to face the mayor and the Board of Aldermen to explain his side in all of this. The chief, though, first had to walk past these demonstrators who were out in support of the flag patch. Chief William Clay, however, insisted this whole thing has been blown out of proportion, and he says he never ordered the flag to be taken off the police uniforms. Rather, he says he simply wanted to try and bring the uniform more in line with other departments around the country by putting city patches on both shoulders.
Unfortunately, some of the employees within the department, they chose to lie. They chose to release misinformation to the public. They chose to tell the public that we ordered that the American flags be immediately removed from our uniforms. That would have been offensive to me.
The chief says officers here in Belleville can still wear the flag patch if they want to, and the chief pointed out that he still wears an American flag patch, an American flag pin, and an American flag tie clip on his uniform. We're live in Belleville. Matt Stesney, News 4.
Also in Belleville tonight, some expensive upgrades to the city's sewer system. The board tonight unanimously approved to spend more than $21 million to hire a contractor for the work. This is phase 3 of that project, in which improvements have been ordered by the EPA. The sewer rates went up 2 years ago to help pay for that work.
New tonight, residents dealing with mosquito problems in Jefferson County are getting some relief. The Jefferson County Health Department plans to spray several communities that have seen an outbreak of mosquitoes. This comes after recent flooding has caused a spike in the mosquito population.
A Northside woman asking, really?
It's past the really. It's really.
She says her neighborhood was treated like a landfill. Tonight, we get involved and get results.
Also ahead on News 4 at 10, citizen security. The new stand many gun owners are taking to protect military recruiting centers. Plus,
once he was out, I was like, okay, well, I've got to push the rest of them out.
A family vehicle turns into a maternity ward. The incredible video that is now going viral when News 4 is back in 90 seconds.
You're watching News 4, watching out for you.
Tonight, Donald Trump isn't backing down from his controversial comments about Senator John McCain.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree? Those comments came over the weekend. Since then, the GOP presidential hopeful has been getting criticism from many fellow Republicans. McCain said today that he does not believe Trump needs to apologize.
In the wake of the shooting rampage that left 4 Marines dead last week, a retired Marine is now taking security measures into his own hands. Sean Raines is now armed and standing watch outside a military recruiting office in Savannah, Georgia. And a similar scene is playing out in Alabama, where 2 men with assault rifles stood guard at a military recruiting center. 6 states have already taken measures to increase security at those recruiting facilities.
New video tonight as a Kansas woman frantically tries to break a car window to save a child who is trapped in a hot car. Witnesses say the toddler was drenched with sweat and crying as people were finally able to get her out after more than 2 minutes. The couple had left that child in the car, and they were found later in a store. They were both charged with child endangerment.
Here's an amazing story out of Texas going viral as a mother gives birth in an SUV as she's being taken to the hospital, and it's all caught on video. The Texas mother was being taken to the hospital by her husband when she went into full labor. With a GoPro camera rolling, the woman gave birth to the child in a matter of minutes. You may be wondering, why didn't Dad pull over?
For one thing, we don't have a cell phone with service, so we couldn't have called anybody if I'd pulled over. Number 2, she said she wanted me to keep driving.
I was probably freaking out way more than I should have.
Well, it's a happy ending. They're smiling now. The healthy baby boy came in, get this, at a whopping 10 pounds, 3 ounces. The video of the birth has already garnered hundreds of thousands of hits on YouTube.
News 4 investigates, uncovering scams and ripoffs, questioning government waste, watching out for you. Now, News 4's Chris Nagus.
Check this out. Giant piles of dirt mixed with all kinds of stuff you don't want in your backyard. A Northside woman asking, really? Feeling like her Northside neighborhood was being treated like a landfill, she called me for help.
It's past the really. It's really, for real, really?
Ingrid Ransom has felt voiceless since May. That's when she shot iPhone video of big dump trucks dumping load after load on a vacant lot behind her house near the corner of Moffitt and Newstead.
This is not dirt. This is concrete. This is boards. This is nails. This is a lot of stuff that shouldn't be here.
Worried about the safety of her grandson, she called the trucking company that dumped off the piles to complain. What was the name of the trucking company?
T&E Trucking.
Let me see that. The owner of T&E Trucking watched Ingrid's video. He says it can all be explained.
What they do, they call guys like us.
Okay.
To give them free dirt.
By guys like us, he means hauling companies that get calls from demolition companies to provide backfill for big jobs. Nearly 2 months after the piles were dumped, the vacant house next to them was demolished. But the site still looked terrible, covered with dangerous debris, including huge chunks of concrete, even metal rods sticking out of the soil. Are you satisfied with the way this was done?
Not at all. Wood with nails sticking up out of it. Sometimes I do think, okay, well, we need to just find somewhere else to go. But at the end of the day, I keep going back. Why should I be inconvenienced? Why should I give in? You know, I was born and raised down here. I'm not going nowhere.
I called the owner of the demolition company, Alpha and Omega. He showed up to survey the mess and promised to clean it up. But when I went back a few days later, it was still a giant mess. That's when Alderman Sam Moore happened to roll up, accompanied by a documentary film crew from New York, who, as it turns out, was doing their own story on Moore's neighborhood cleanup efforts. Who do you think is to blame for this then?
Alpha and Omega.
Moore blamed the demolition company and demanded it get fixed.
This is unacceptable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally unacceptable.
Well, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think it's that's the reason why we're doing the story. Is it's not acceptable. T&E sent this email admitting their driver did not follow protocol and was suspended, but they strongly denied any allegations about dumping separate rock debris on the site. Really? As you can see in our video, there are giant chunks of concrete mixed in with the dirt. Ultimately, T&E agreed to work with Alpha and Omega to clean it up. But on Friday, it was still a mess. Alderman Moore promised it would look different by today.
We got to get on them.
By this morning, voila! The uneven ruts were smoothed out, most of the debris was gone, and at least those giant pieces of concrete were nowhere to be found. Ingrid says it should have never played out the way it did, and nobody would tolerate this in their backyard.
Really?
The Forewarned Storm Team, certified St. Louis's most accurate forecast for 4 years in a row. Now, here's meteorologist Megan Danahay.
We're giving you a live look from the First Clover Leaf Bank Eye on St. Louis. Megan, it was pretty busy earlier this evening. Some severe weather in the area, and nice to see that it is quiet and calm right now.
Yeah, it's quiet. You know, we did have a severe thunderstorm warning. We had a tornado warning. We had a severe thunderstorm watch. All of that is done. Now, we still have a chance for a few showers before midnight, but we're talking about more comfortable weather in the next couple of days. Here's what's left on SkyTracker Doppler. You can see no warnings. You can see also a dying shower there north of the metro. There's not even any lightning in that anymore. You can see all the heavier lightning and big thunderstorms moving into Kentucky now. But this little dying thunderstorm was from the cold front that's dropping to the south, and that cold front will continue moving to the south as we head through the overnight hours. So a few more thunderstorms are possible. This will track toward St. Louis, Edwardsville, and then on toward Belleville and O'Fallon, Illinois, if it can hold together. But again, there's not even any lightning showing up in that right now over Jerseyville, just some moderate rainfall. Temperatures around the area have fallen back into the 70s at 74 in Litchfield, 73 in Alton. We still have 80 degrees in St. Louis, and it actually feels warmer than that. The humidity was oppressive today, and it still feels like 84 even at this late hour. It will feel better when you wake up tomorrow morning. Taking a look at that frontal boundary as it drops southward across the I-70 corridor. Can't rule out a couple of showers, maybe even a stray thunderstorm, but most of the instability in the atmosphere is gone. So the threat for severe weather is done, and the chance for storms or showers really only goes through about midnight. The frontal boundary will come through the rest of the area by about sunrise, and it should be pretty quiet toward early morning, comfortable and dry. You'll notice the lower humidity when you step out in the morning with a north wind at about 10 miles per hour and temperatures around 71 degrees. As we head into the afternoon, you'll really notice the lower humidity. We'll have winds coming in out of the northeast at about 10 miles an hour, which is going to be pulling in drier and cooler air from the Great Lakes region. So our high temperature tomorrow will be around 84, when the normal high for this time of year is closer to 90. So a pretty comfortable day tomorrow, and that comfortable weather trend takes us into Wednesday as well. So your 4-degree guarantee for tomorrow, 84 degrees, that forecast high, hoping to add another $50 to the $700 already there for Employment Connection. Comfortable temperatures taking us into Wednesday, 83 degrees on Wednesday, 83 on Thursday, but by Thursday, the chance of rain is back in the forecast. We'll see a chance of storms continue into Friday. And then Mother Nature turns up the heat again just a little bit as we head into the weekend. Not terrible, but highs back in the low 90s. Look at that 65.
Yeah.
Wednesday morning.
That's not a typo.
That's not a typo. It's going to feel very comfortable. Next couple of days, you'll really notice that lower humidity, and we're only going to see a chance of storms tonight through midnight.
Nice break.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Megan.
Look who's back from long vacation. Good to see you, Mo.
Thank you, Steve. Long vacation for me, long afternoon for the Cards yesterday at Busch. How the pitching staff was affected after that 18-inning affair with the Mets. And the Cards look to get a boost at first base from their star prospect. More on the arrival of Stephen Piscotty. That's ahead in sports.
News 4 Sports, driven by Toyota.
After playing a 6-hour marathon with the Mets yesterday, the Cardinals got a well-deserved break today. But tomorrow, Redbirds hit the south side of Chicago for a 2-game set with the White Sox. Michael Wacha takes them out in search of win number 11. Redbirds have also called up their top prospect to the majors. Stephen Piscotty was drafted as an outfielder back in 2012, but he started playing first base at AAA Memphis this season. Piscotty brings a strong bat from the farm, and he's expected to give the Cards an offensive boost to a position where the Redbirds need run production badly. Piscotty hit .272 with 11 home runs in 87 games this season at AAA. Meanwhile, the Cardinals pitching staff was knocked out